Good day, everyone. I am Zarah Gagatiga, and I am here to talk about my journey of love through art and literature. I'm a teacher librarian and an author of children's books. I love stories, and I am attracted to stories because I believe that stories are windows, mirrors, and doors. Stories are mirrors because the characters that we read about in stories reflect the stories of our lives. In the pages of a book, we see ourselves. And when this happens, there is identification and a way for us to relate to characters, making them very real in our own lives. Stories are windows. As an author, I write about my worldviews, my beliefs, my philosophy into the pages of a book. The wonderful thing about stories being windows is that you can also take a look at other worldviews. So when others' worldview meet with yours, then a connection happens and an understanding of how human we all are happens. And lastly, I believe that stories are doors. Stories, particularly stories in picture books and storybooks, challenge us to step out of our comfort zone, to open that door that tells us to imagine, to play, to wonder, and enter into different worlds and lands. So when we look at ourselves in the stories that we read, when we see other worldviews, and when we get out of our comfort zones to imagine, to create, to play, and wonder, we are involved in this beautiful creation of stories. We are enriched and we are inspired to write our own stories. Maybe not every day, but in special moments in our lives. And because we are experiencing a pandemic right now, this is the most wonderful time for us to look at ourselves, to look at the worldviews of others, and to step out of our comfort zones to connect with people through stories, books, literature, and art. So, how did I begin? I actually have these books written already. My first book was published in the US. It's Tales from the 7,000 Isles. And I co-authored the book with Diane de las Casas. And in 2011, it won the Storytelling World Award. We did a good job at putting together tales, games, songs, poetry, and pictures about the Philippines and the folk stories that we enjoy. Locally, I have published these books. This is the recent book I have published under Lampara House or Lampara Books, Masaya ang Maging Ako. My Daddy, My One and Only, Dear Nanai, The Day Max Flew Away, When a Book Talks, A Tale of Two Dreams, Big Sister, Ino the Invincible, and 12 storybooks for kinder readers. These three books, Baby Bibi, Miyawing Kuting, and Magbilang Tayo, are books I co-authored with a good friend of mine, Darrell Marco. These three books are published by the Nutrition Council of the Philippines. So far, these are my works. These are the books I have published. And I'll further share with you some tips on how you can write better. At the heart of every story is the main character, and readers love a well-developed character. What does that mean? Let's go to the books that I have written so I can show you what I mean by these statements. In My Daddy, My One and Only, I have developed a character, the Daddy Elephant. He plays and spends time with his son. He teaches him life lessons. He helps him with his homework, and he takes care of his wound when he got hurt. And more than that, he shows his affection to his family. Who usually does all these things? It's the mommy, right? But in my story, My Daddy, My One and Only, as illustrated by Joe Mike Tejido, it is the daddy who shows all of these characteristics. So we find a character here that is sensitive. A character, although male, and an elephant at that, is capable to express his or her his emotions. The next one is big sister. Si ate, she can be annoying. She can be naughty, but she's also creative, protective, and loyal. She may always fight with her younger sibling, but at the end of the day, she will always love her little brother. My next story is Dear Nanai. And in this story, it's the little girl who misses her mom so much, who wrote a letter to express her loneliness. And in the end, she becomes hopeful. And so, at this point, I would like to pause for a while and make this point that the main characters in the stories that I have written so far are actually in touch with their feelings and with their emotions. So, if you wish to write a character before you begin writing an entire story, it's important that you determine what kind of character you would like to create. What feelings do the characters feel? Are they afraid? Are they brave? Are they makulit? Are they noisy? Are they hard-headed, courageous? Or can they be villains in your story? Not all main characters are heroes. Sometimes they can be villains too, bad people who can become heroes in the end. But I am moving ahead. Let's keep to the idea of developing a main character for your story. The next story or the next character that I would like to share with you is Nico, the boy in the story, The Day Max Flew Away. Nico has an inner struggle because Nico loves to take care of birds as pets. It was so difficult for him to let go of the pet that he bought in the marketplace, a bird that is actually not a pet in the first place. But because the other bird died, he had to make a decision. And when he made the decision to let go of the living bird, he realized that life is precious and that letting go of something you hold dear can actually be very good, especially if it concerns being alive and being well. The next character I would like to share with you is Ino. This is Ino, but in the story, Ino the Invincible, Ino has a friend named Carlo. They're best friends. They're teammates in the basketball team. And in this story, they lost an important game because Ino, who happens to be the captain of the team, did not listen to Carlo. But in the end, they were able to rise to the occasion and they chose to remain friends. How did that happen? I suppose you check your library out to see if you have a copy of Ino the Invincible. And moving on to the next one, my newest book, Masaya Ang Maging Ako. The main character is Tere. She's a girl in grade school and she's quirky and a bit queer. She's a bit strange. So if you look at her, look at the way she fixes her hair. Look at her big smile. Look at the bangles and the bracelets that she's wearing. Look at her socks. She looks kind of strange as compared to her classmates, right? But she is smart. She's kind. But then again, because she's different, she became a victim of microaggression or verbal bullying. She felt sad. She felt weak and small. But she was able to think for herself and realized that after all, she is as unique as anyone could be. And by realizing her uniqueness, she is happy to be me or happy to be her, happy to be Tere. And so those are the characters I have created and those are the characters I love to write about. Characters who have inner struggles, characters who can rise above their difficulties and in the end realize something beautiful about themselves or something inspiring about the world. How did I do that or how do I do that? I follow the problem solution technique. The character has a problem. The character thinks through for solutions. Often there are minor characters who would help the main character, and they would have ideas on how to solve the problem. There's an imminent solution, there's a possible solution, and ta-da! There is an answer to the problem. And most of the time, the answer is, of course, leading to a happy ending. But then again, there are also stories that lead to a not so happy ending or a bad ending. But in the end, it's important that characters are made interesting, that they encounter different kinds of conflict. It's also good that you follow a story map or a story mountain similar to this. There's an exposition, which is the beginning, and the action rises into series of events. Oops, sorry about that. Let's go back. Until it reaches a climax, a point when problems are solved and there's no turning back. And then it falls down, events that would lead to the end or the resolution. You can further be aided by a framework known as the BME, or the beginning, middle, and end. And here I have identified in each table guides and questions that you can think through when you start creating your story map. So an exposition at the beginning, identify your characters as well as the supporting ones, include them in the exposition. Your exposition can be written in simple sentences or in bullet points. Identify the setting and the time as well. In the middle part, focus on the rising action, introduce the conflict. What's the character's problem? How did he or she solve it? And who helped him or her solve the problem? And in the end, is a falling action. What happened to the characters? What did he, she, or they learn anything or discover about themselves or life in general? So these are your plans. These are your, shall we say, path to creating a simple story that can be read in one sitting. And that is how I map, I plan, I think about the stories that I write. My inspiration most often is my family because they're very close to me. And as a writer, I believe also that there are wonderful stories to be shared about the families we grew up in. Now, I have something for you to do. Write a story using these photos. First, follow the basic problem solution technique to develop the characters. So we have here a picture of a family. You may choose one main character. And here we have a wounded dog. You can also think about the dog as the main character. And then there's a car. Aha, what's the problem? What can be the solution? What is the conflict? Start imagining and use the photos as prompts and create your stories and character using the problem solution technique. When you're done developing the problem solution of your characters, you can move on to the story map. Okay? You can follow the story mountain or the beginning, middle, and framework. So how did the story begin? What is your exposition? Did it start with a car? Probably an accident of a dog? And the family who owns the car? What are they to do with the dog? Look at the family members. So, what is your beginning? What is your middle? And what is your end? And you can work on it on your own. You can work on it for fun if you want to take a break from schoolwork. And get in touch with your librarians and you can submit your work to them. Lastly, before I close my presentation, I would like you to keep in touch. I would like to see your character's problem and solution. I would like to know your story map. I would like to help you write better. So You can show me your beginning, middle, and framework, your story mountain, and your problem solution plan for your character or characters. Let's keep in touch. You can send me an email at zara.gagatiga@gmail. I'm on Twitter at the Coffee Goddess. I'm on Instagram at Zara815. You can follow my blog, lovealibrarian.blogspot.com, and I have a Facebook author page. Also, this coming March, this coming summer, we'll be running online tutorials on reading and writing and music. My son, Teacher Val, can teach guitar, piano, ukulele, and together we tandem our sessions with reading and writing sessions. I am also doing writing coaching, and if you're interested, we can also come up with activities for helping young learners like you develop and grow their writing skills, be it creative writing, research writing, or expository writing. And that's it. I hope that short my presentation, maybe you're able to enjoy my story as an author who journeys into art and literature with love for stories, books, and reading. Thank you very much. Be well. Stay safe.